Welcome back, everybody. This is the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage. I am winding up the overhaul of the Janome 642 free arm, and I thought I would go ahead and show everyone how the bobbin is wound. I don't have the manual, so this is my best estimate of how the bobbin is going to be wound. Now, in another video, I've actually shown where this spool pin, for reasons I don't quite get, is bent. It looks like it may have been that way on purpose, but I can't figure it out. In any case, I am going to put, I'm just doing a demonstration here for you guys for winding a bobbin. This is a class 15 bobbin that I have here, which you will recognize. Some of you will have class 15 bobbins, and they may or may not have all these little holes. You'll notice that here at the very top of the inner circle is a little notch, and yeah, it should come up in the light there, and that notch is going to line up with a little with another little let's see if we can zoom in and you guys can maybe see a little bit better there. You're going to see on your bobbin winder, sorry about that, you're going to see on the bobbin winder, this one in particular, a lot of them, whether they're on the front or the top, have a little, basically a protrusion, and it's spring-loaded on the pin of the bobbin winder. So you want to line up the little notch in the inner ring with that protrusion, and that will allow you, you'll know when it's lined up because you won't be able to really push, you really want to be able to push the bobbin down so that the notch and the little protrusion are lined up. And there they are. Now, this is the bobbin winding pin that normally rests here, okay? There's a tire underneath the lid of the machine, and that tire is going to be pushing on the inner portion of the hand wheel. But of course, before we wind anything, we've got to take the hand wheel, and I've got to loosen the clutch knob. So I'm going to change angles here and let all of you see it. This is mostly for those of you who are new to sewing machines, and about half of my customers are new to sewing machines. So you are not a small number of folks. Okay, so again, I'm going to hold the hand wheel with one hand, and I'm going to push toward, I'm going to take that little inner clutch knob, and I'm going to rotate it toward the front of the machine as if I were, sitting in front of it, just enough to loosen it. I don't want to unscrew it all the way. If you do, you can put it back. But again, that's how it was designed. You're just loosening it from being snug. Now you can see it wiggle. So now you know it's loose. Okay, the next little thing I'm going to do here is, I think I'm going to, let's see, I'm going to take my top thread spool, and I'm going to leave it here for the moment, and then I'm going to take this is an older spool of thread, I'm just doing this to demonstrate for you guys, and I'm going to take it, and I've got it on this spool, but it's short enough, I don't think that the curve in the pin is going to affect it like it did the other, and I'm going to come over, and let's pan over so you guys can see. Now, you may remember when I was threading the machine to sew with the pink thread that there's a little wheel over here, and it sits to the left of the thread guide on top of the machine. And I'm going to use it to hold my bobbin thread because I think my instinct is telling me that that's what that is for, that it is not part of the normal threading of the machine. Now, whenever you're taking thread to get a bobbin wound, the first thing you want to do is you want to come, and this is easier to see when the bobbin winder is on the front of the machine. Actually, I'll change the angle again. I want you guys to see this. There we go, that's better. You're going to take your thread as it comes off the thread spool, and you always thread bobbin from the inside out. So you're going to go from the inside of the rim and you're going to come out, and I'm just going to come up through one of the holes. You can pick any one of them, really. And I'm just going to kind of make sure that the thread is here. I'm not really wanting to keep pulling it, or I'll just, end up pulling a long tail of thread out. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to push the bobbin winding pin to the, it's sort of like a, I think it's like a 30-degree angle, but I'm pushing it towards the hand wheel. And underneath there's a tire, and that tire is going to be pushing against the hand wheel as it rotates with the power of the belt. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold on to this little tail of thread until my bobbin starts to wind. So let me get her plugged in here and we'll start the winding. Okay, and I'm just going to start slowly. And you'll notice that the original piece of thread that I had kind of got looped around the bobbin. So I'm going to go ahead and trim it. It's not going to hurt anything because the bobbin is winding already, feeding off of the spool of thread. So I'll just simply continue this. Now you'll notice that I'm not going full speed. I'm going to go medium speed as I've shown you guys before. Now when I see this bobbin, I see a little bit of distortion in it, but I don't think it's enough that's going to affect the performance of the bobbin in a bobbin case. If it is, you'll know because it'll affect your stitches. It looks like we may run out of spool thread before the bobbin finishes. But now you can see the bobbin, now that it's swung. I've moved the pin back over because you don't want to keep that tire engaged when your sewing machine is having to work hard for you. Now I'm going to hold the hand wheel and I'm just going to turn to the back and just snug that clutch. And you'll know if your clutch is snugged properly because your needle will be able to move again. Now all I have to do is take my bobbin, and again I would have kept winding until it filled up, but you get the idea. And so that's a good test because remember, bobbin winders, usually the most common issue you'll have with a bobbin winder is that the tire won't be any good. Sometimes, the tire's dry rot, and when you first see the machine and you're inspecting it, you might not know unless you've taken the lid off because of course you can't see the bobbin tire. But that's a good thing to point out here to you all, which is if you have a machine and you go looking for the bobbin winder and you're used to seeing older machines where the bobbin winding tire is sort of on the right front, and oftentimes it will be sticking, you can see it right in front of you. If you've got one of the later vintage machines, you will often see this pin sticking up. This is not for your sewing thread. This is actually your bobbin winder, and it has been moved into a horizontal position, and it still engages the hand wheel, but instead of engaging the hand wheel on the front vertically, it engages it horizontally. So don't worry, it doesn't mean you're missing a bobbin winder, but of course the ability for the bobbin winder to engage, I oiled the mechanism underneath here, and it's when you take the lid off, you will see I've done a number of videos using this machine, and I don't actually remember if I showed all of you underneath the top. We were looking into the machine itself, but I'll show you the mechanism I'm speaking of, and there it is. There is a series of, let's see if I can give you guys a view vertically. There we go. You can see that there is a series of, there's a linkage here. And thankfully it's all steel except for the bobbin tire. This tire is in good shape. I get the feeling the tire may have even been replaced at one point in the past because it looks awfully fresh. But if yours isn't, you can always, like I say, you can order these bobbin tires. This one's fairly large for this model, and you'll see that this device is also, let's get it in the light here, it's also spring loaded. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see behind the wheel here, there's a spring. And that spring is used to control which way the bobbin winding device goes. So if I move it, remember that it was pushing against the hand wheel. When I move it over with my hand, you can see that the tire is moving to the right to engage the hand wheel. And then when I'm done, I want to move it back. I can find it here. And you want to do that obviously because this would be a drag on your hand wheel if you were trying to sew with that tire pushing against the hand wheel, and you only want to use this when you're actually winding a bobbin. So that's where it is, guys. If you find a machine and you think, hey, somebody took off with the bobbin winder, or again, if you're only looking at really old vintage machines, you might say, hey, does this thing not have a bobbin winder? But it does. I have yet to come across a sewing machine that did not, unless you're talking about very, very old vintage machines. But there you have it, guys. That is how you wind a bobbin on this machine. Many of these machines from this era will be very similar, okay? Sometimes they'll have it, the tire will be, you'll see this pin sticking out on the front, but very often it's on the top. Anyway, if you guys have any questions or any comments on bobbin winding, if you're having issues, please leave it there below when the video posts. And I so appreciate you watching this reconditioning of a hybrid vintage sewing machine, and hopefully we're going to get a lot of years out of the old girl yet. Take care, everyone.